Welcome campers to part 4 of our spring 2023 Utah and southern Arizona trip. While we start on a chilly note, we quickly head east towards the Four Corners area and warmer ground. We'll explore some enormous and beautiful canyons, cook some great meals, and discover a freakishly balanced rock that defies gravity. Grab your stuff and let's go! We depart our camp spot at Soap Creek Dispersed, heading up into Kanab, Utah on 89A, then travel east to Goosenecks State Park, and then take a short jaunt over to Mexican Hat Rock. The drive up through the Kanab Plateau was pretty and uneventful, just like we like them. After many days of dry camping, we were excited to pull into Kanab, Utah. We had heard great things about the Kanab RV Corral, which is right on the main street in town. The park has full hookups, so we were able to relax and enjoy all the amenities after our long period of boondocking. This is a very clean and well-run park, and the folks that work here are very friendly. Check-in is right as you pull in on the left, and the sites are decently spaced apart. We went out to see what the town had to offer and maybe grab some dinner. Kanab has a surprisingly good selection of restaurants, and we settled on a little Cuban restaurant known as the Havana Cabana. It was really good. We don't normally think of Cuban food in a small American town like this, and it was a fun experience. The next morning, we were in for a bit of a surprise. It had snowed overnight, and it was still snowing, although lightly. Fortunately, the spots in the RV park are all very well drained gravel, so we didn't have any problems with mud. We decided to head out and see if we could get some aerial footage of the region. Kanab is a small town with a big reputation. Located in the heart of the Grand Circle, it is a gateway to some of the most spectacular natural wonders in the world. From the towering Vermilion Cliffs to the majestic landscapes of Zion and Bryce Canyon National Parks, Kanab is a must-visit for any nature lover. We got to our destination, a small reservoir on the edge of town, but had to wait for a break in the storm. Eventually, it cleared enough to lift off, and we were able to get some footage of the surrounding area. Zion is off behind that ridge, I believe, and somewhere over to our left are the coral pink sand dunes. We visited them last time we were in Zion. One of the reasons we stopped here was to get our laundry done. It had been over a week, and we had quite a backup. Fortunately, they have a very nice laundry facility here. There's no accounting for the weather, though. Our time here was brief, but it was perfect for us to get some chores done, relax, and take advantage of those full hookups. Now it's time for us to head east to our next destination, Mexican Hat, Utah. The drive east on 89 is a scenic one, and takes you through the grand Staircase-Escalante National Monument towards Page, Arizona. It's about a 70-mile drive to Page going this route, but it goes by pretty quickly because the landscape is so varied and pretty. We decided to stop off at the Big Water Visitor Center, which is one of 4 BLM-run visitor centers in the Grand Staircase-Escalante National Monument. This is situated on a big loop, making it easy to get an RV of almost any size in here. This is an informative and well-cared-for visitor center that explains a lot of the history of the Grand Staircase-Escalante area. asked permission to put the drone up, and they didn't mind as long as we didn't fly over campers or people. Ahead of us lies part of the Glen Canyon National Recreation Area and eventually Lake Powell. The city of Bigwater has a population of about 500 people and used to be named Glen Canyon City. It housed the people that built the Glen Canyon Dam back in the 1950s. This stretch of highway deserves more time than we spent on it. We'll come back someday and give it the attention it merits. We grabbed some quick footage of the Glen Canyon Dam since it was right on our path. The water looks low right now, but this is destined to change over the coming months. It's really quite a structure. After we passed through Page, we took the 98 east towards the Navajo Trail and Monument Valley. This is a very beautiful drive, and the road was in decent shape. You'll come to a Shell station where the 98 intersects the 160, and we decided to fuel up there because fuel is far and few between around these parts. I found it odd the pumps were covered with such a tall ceiling, but I think this is probably to prevent snow buildup during the winter months. This area sits at 6,500 feet. Out in the middle of nowhere, we find this tall building. Apparently, it was part of the Peabody Conveyor Belt Bridge, which transported coal over the US 160. The conveyor was demolished back in 2019, and it no longer crosses the highway. Approach Monument Valley. It's always fun to drive through here, though we are not stopping this time. We've done photo tours in the past, so we're going to bypass on this trip. Eventually, we make it into the town of Mexican Hat. This little town was named in 1908 after the nearby Mexican Hat Rock and was a boom town during the early 20th century when oil and uranium were discovered. The population of the town peaked at about 1,000 people, but it has since declined to only around 200 now. Our destination of Goosenecks State Park is just a few miles further and accessed via a decent paved road, Utah 316. It costs $10 a night to camp here, and we like to camp out on the BLM land overlooking the canyon that's actually past the park boundaries. It's a bit of a rough road, but we think it's worth it to get to the sites out there. The BLM has called for input on a plan to develop a more structured campground here outside the state park's boundaries. The request went out in early 2020, and we have not heard any further developments. If you're in the know of anything about this, please leave us a comment below. I believe some aspects of the plan might limit camping to designated spots away from the cliff edge. As this Google Earth flyover illustrates, Goosenecks gets its name from the way that the San Juan River meanders about, having cut deep canyons over millions of years through the sandstone rock. The river flows about 6 miles, but it only travels 1.5 miles west. As you can see, it looks like a series of goosenecks. Camping here is very level, but there are lots of rocks around. The elevation is about 4,500 feet, and it can get quite windy. Goosenecks State Park was established in 1964, but the area has been inhabited by humans for thousands of years. The first people to live in the area were the Anasazi, who built cliff dwellings and other structures in the canyons. The Anasazi were followed by the Navajo and Paiute peoples, who also lived in the area. Sitting 1,000 feet above the San Juan River, the views from camp are just amazing. In 2021, the International Dark Sky Association designated Goosenecks State Park a dark sky park. If you're interested in astronomy or astrophotography, this is the place for you. Many people don't realize just how big this canyon is. Later that day, we decided to head east towards Honaker Trail. We did not attempt the trail, but rather drove along the cliff edge. The roads here are not in terrible shape, but it was comforting to have four-wheel drive. Encountered a few calves, and they seemed surprised to see us. I don't think there's much traffic out here. Though we were completely stopped and quiet, they eventually spooked. The San Juan River below us originates high in the San Juan Mountains in Colorado, making its way 355 miles to join the Colorado at Lake Powell. There are several campsites out along the rim here, though it's quite a drive to get here on a dirt road that's rough. We won't be pulling our trailer up there. But it would be great for a van or tent camping. We've come to the end of the road. It's about as close as you can get to Goosenecks itself, which is probably a mile away or so. Well, it's getting late, so we're going to head back to camp and cook up some dinner. Funny, when we left here, there was almost nobody around, but when we came back just a few hours later, we have all sorts of neighbors. This was Friday night after all. For dinner, we tried something new and cooked a pork loin roast in our air fryer. It worked amazingly well. Served with simple boiled vegetables, it was a really good dinner. The next morning, it was completely clear. The skies above are well traveled by jets, but we didn't hear them. Campers all along the canyon were enjoying their coffee and the way the morning light had transformed the canyons into works of art. We headed out to explore the canyons east of where we were camped. It was only about a mile or so, and the terrain was easy with light scrambling in a few places. There's a pretty large campsite down here, which would have been fun to stay at. It has the advantage of a bluff directly west of it, which provides a wind shield. It's big enough you could easily get a few rigs in there. Here's a good view of the park and the road that extends out towards the end of the ridge. This guy is headed for that campsite we just looked at, the only person we've seen down here. We went back to camp and rested up a bit before heading out to Mexican Hat Rock. The land around Mexican Hat Rock has some dispersed camping available on it. However, it's not public land and requires a usage fee to be paid. We'll drop a link in the description in case you're interested. There's lots of places for rigs of just about any size down on the lower portion. The road to the right is marked no trespassing, so we're going to stay to the left. As you head further up, the road gets a little rougher. But you're rewarded with some excellent views. Vans or tents could really like this place. As you might guess, Mexican Hat Rock gets its name for its resemblance to a sombrero balancing upside down on a rock pedestal. Except this sombrero is 60 feet across, 12 feet thick, and made of rock. I'm not sure if anyone really understands how this thing stays balanced like this. It's an enigma. In addition to the rock itself, you have the San Juan River also passing through here. It's much more accessible here than at Goosenecks State Park. You can drive right down to it. River rafting seems to be popular for this stretch of the San Juan. It looks like a lot of fun. Those mountains in the background are known as Comb Ridge and are composed of sandstone that was deposited about 200 million years ago. The sandstone was then uplifted and folded during the Laramide orogeny, which occurred about 70 million years ago, making for the almost painted look of the mountains. As beautiful as this footage is, it doesn't even come close to capturing the true magic of this place. You really need to come out here and see it for yourself to believe it. We're going to make our way back now and break camp so we can head on to our next destination, Valley of the Gods, which is just 20 or so miles from here. We're really happy you chose to come along with us on this excursion. We had a great time and highly recommend visiting this area in person if you're able to. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to our channel and hitting the like button. This helps us know we are connecting with our audience and guides our future content creation. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the Valley of the Gods.